Marathon, yeah, say that to me, yeah, say that. Yeah, say that to me, oh marathon. You can say that to me, yeah, say that. You can say that to me, marathon. Yeah, say that. Honestly, the last 2 weeks have been pretty uneventful, right? But in this uneventful mindset and in this place of sitting that I've been, because if you've been watching, God has told me to stop working, right? Which has been kind of like a conflicting situation to be a part of because man was made to work, right? And I'm doing so much prayer. Like I want to be stronger in my faith. I want to do the things that God wants me to do. So in this prayer, he's told me basically to sit, right? And only to do these videos, these podcasts. And other than that, there's nothing else he's like requiring me to do. And then even to a more degree, if I feel like doing more, I feel like I have to like consult him like 10 times more than I typically would, which there's absolutely no problem with. I think in this sitting that I've been doing, it's really just been coming to my attention. A lot more has been revealed. So the last podcast, I was talking about how God had told me to, in the middle of sitting, to stop listening to Drake's music. And this is not one of those like podcasts today where I'm like, oh, Drake is not doing things of God, so therefore I can't listen to him. It was just a request that God asked me to do. And in that request, last video I talked about it, and it kind of opened my eyes to a couple different things that I wasn't privy to ahead of time. So in this same essence of sitting, God was kind of opening my eyes because I was praying for my eyes to be open because I had no idea. I hate sitting. I really like to work. Like obviously I love to work, right? But in the sitting, I was thinking like, whenever we're talking about this movement of manifestation, of course, I don't think words, like just every word innately is an evil word. Like I don't believe manifestation in itself is an evil word. And I think every time you manifest, like I think you can do visualization, manifestation prayers for God. I think that you can visualize God, walking with God, visualizing and manifesting things that God wants you to come to fruition and to pass. And I think that is a positive thing, right? But in the culture of manifestation that we're in, I think that there's a lot of weird things. Let me just come straight forward with it. I was doing some visualization type of prayer. I was, heavy in prayer during the sitting, and a question came to my mind. And the question was, whose eyes are you manifesting your vision through? And hopefully you can follow me on this one. I'm going to try and build it up and be as articulate as possible on this, so you don't think I'm doing some woo-woo weird stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Nutrishop Parker. It is your one-stop shop for high-quality supplements, protein powders, and wellness products that actually deliver. Whether you're building muscle, burning fat, or just trying to feel better every day, Nutrishop's expert team can help you find what works best for you. If you're local to Colorado, stop by their Parker location for a personalized experience. And if you are tuning in anywhere in the USA, use code Brandon at checkout for free shipping on your order. Fuel your goals the right way, the Nutrishop way. All right, let's go. When it comes to whose eyes are you manifesting your vision, your dream through, comes from the fact that like, whenever you're dreaming, like you can create new things, like you can be flying, you could have some imaginative dreams. When you're visualizing things, like the whole act of visualizing is a certain act of like seeing things that don't exist, right? You're trying to build the life for yourself that you currently don't have. But I think that sometimes we fall victim to visualizing manifestation, whatever you want to call it, in someone else's eyes. Meaning that if I'm in high school and let's say I do musical theater and I'm visualizing myself on Broadway, and I can look out into the crowd and I can see the audience members. I look down, I see the stage, I look to the right and left, I see the red curtains closing and opening. Like that's something like basically essentially that I haven't experienced yet. I have not been, right? Like as a high schooler, I haven't been on Broadway. I haven't been on that type of stage. I haven't been in a theater of that magnitude. So I'm manifesting and visualizing this situation through what I believe are my eyes, but is it always through my eyes? It's just a question. And everything on this channel is always a question. I'm not saying that I figured something out and I'm trying to like impose a new way of thinking, but it is something to think about. If I'm a rapper and I'm visualizing myself being highly successful with money and cars and women and 47th floor condo, high rise house that I live in, like, whose eyes am I manifesting this through? Like, isn't that Drake's life? Aren't I trying to look at life through Drake's lens? When I'm in musical theater, aren't I visualizing my life through someone else's lens? Like, I'm not saying that that's not something that you can do in terms of like maybe one day that exact thing is in your future. Like Jim Carrey comes to the example, like he wanted a check for $30 million. So he would always drive up to the cliffs and sit up there and visualize himself cashing like a $30 million check. Of course, he got to do that. But I think in terms of other manifestation type of situations, I think that maybe there is something to think about in terms of manifesting through someone else's eyes. And is there any danger in that? When I think about my future and I think about the life I want to live, is it genuinely my future I'm visualizing, or am I copying, cutting, pasting someone else's future over top of my visuals, and now I'm looking at the world through someone else's life, someone else's worldview? I think a negative that can come from that is some envy, right? I can come up with some jealousy, like he's living the life that I want. She's living the life that I deserve, that I have been working my ass off for. Why do they get to live, blah, blah, blah? When you really have to be humble and pull back, if this is something that you've experienced, is that's their life. I don't care what you think they deserve and what you think they've achieved, like whatever talent level they have, whatever money they have, whatever abilities they've been blessed with, no matter what you think, if they've cultivated, if they cheated their way to the top, if they don't deserve it, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, that's their life and it's what they have. So I think if you're visualizing yourself as a highly successful individual and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I really want blah, 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 I think that is a thought that can really bleed into your psyche, especially when you're being as visual as YouTube tells you to be, the taste, touch, you have to want it as bad as you can breathe and all these things. Like, that's going to cause you to really step into the shoes of that highly successful individual. And I think that, I don't know innately if that's bad or not, but I know that it can definitely, there's a slope, there's like a tightrope that you're walking, that you really could fall into a situation of being envious of what someone else has just because you don't have it, right? And I think that in the realm of acting, which I feel decently qualified to talk about, I pursue it, I enjoy it, I like it. But I know a lot of actors, right? I know a lot of actors, and I think a lot of actors in general do fall victim to the walking in other people's shoes type of situation, because in the same way athletes would fall into the victim of how there's only like, 100 something spots every single year in the NBA, maybe 400. I don't think there's 400 spots. I think it's like 100 something spots. And soccer teams and things like that. Like, everybody wants to be LeBron. Everybody wants to be on the roster. But what if that's not in your life? What if that's not in your destiny? Of course, you don't know that till you go after it. But in terms of like, what does it mean to visualize yourself as an expert in your field, right? There's not a lot of Robert Downey Jr.'s. There's not a lot of people who are making $60 million a movie. He might be the absolute only one. So as you're visualizing yourself in the Marvel movie, in LeBron's shoes, on the Lakers, whatever it is, I think that whenever you're chasing something bigger than yourself currently, you have to treat yourself to a step back and say, okay, God, is this something you have for me? Or do you have something else? If I got this, would this be the best thing for me? Of course, you're not going to know that right off, as far as I'm concerned, until you get it. But I think there's a lot of prep work that you can do before you get something that lets you know if you're going to be enjoying it in the way that you think you're going to be enjoying it. If you have highly lustful thoughts and you want to be a rapper, but you also want to live for God, which there's a whole contradiction in there anyway, but we'll get to that at a different time. But let's say that's what you want. You said, I want to be a Christian rapper. But you have high lustful thoughts. Like, of course, you're not acting on them. You're holding your thoughts captive, but you know you constantly are thinking about lustful thoughts. Is the best thing for you to get into a career path where you are undoubtedly highlighted? And there's a thing about talent that does attract the opposite sex, whether you're, mostly from the male to female point of view. Like if you're a talented male, you will attract some type of female attention. So if you struggle with lust, is that the best career path for you? That's something to consider. And I think as you're going about your life, as you're figuring out what you're here for, as you are developing a focus for whatever it is that God has told you to focus on and what you believe you're here to focus on, I think that there's so many things to keep in mind and it can become overwhelming. So instead of trying to manifest a life that seems highly unattainable or manifesting something really hard, I think we should even more so, especially in 2025, where entrepreneurship is such the hottest thing. Like everybody needs to work for themselves. Everybody's a businessman. Not everybody is that. And I think that that's okay. Like we don't need a billion businesses to find peace in ourselves and to find whatever else you're looking for. It's not just in that type of situation, because some people love the structure. They love working for other people. They love helping people achieve visions. Like there's giving personalities. There's peaceful personalities that would do well inside of a business, not as your own business. So I think we need to lean on the word even more so when it comes to like we are here to deliver God's message. We have no strength outside of God's strength, right? Like our strength is the Lord, right? So as we're approaching things and going after things that are difficult, as we're building and visualizing the life that we want to live, the beautiful life that you want to live, I think we have to keep in mind that like God is going to allow the best things to happen to you. And you have to trust that whatever is happening is the best thing that's happening to you because you belong to Him. And as you're visualizing things, it's like, God, are these visions, are these manifestations, are these things that I'm putting together the things that you want me to put together? I know I've trained my whole life to be a musical theater artist, but do you want me to be a musical theater artist? I know I've trained my whole life to be an athlete, and let's say I'm 6'9" and I have a high likelihood of going to the league. God, do you want me to go to the NBA? Do you want me to? And I think that that's, to some people who aren't Christian, that's a ridiculous question. It's a ridiculous question. Because if you're 6'9", you're highly athletic, and you have $1 million in front of you, the world tells you you'd be dumb to even ask the question if you should do it. Of course you should do it, right? But as Christians, we're called to ask those type of questions and to love the response, whether it's a yes or no, because at the end of the day, the last story I'll tell is I just got out of The Weeknd's movie, Hurry Up Tomorrow. And The Weeknd undoubtedly, no question, has won in this world. Like $300 million, $30 million mansion, whatever else he has, everything at his disposal. He's definitely solidified himself as a legend in the music business. Yet his whole movie was talking about the fact that he doesn't have it. He hasn't won. He doesn't have the things that he thought he should have. Whoop. So there is no winning in this world outside of Jesus. So I know it's hard whenever you're looking at any type of content. If you're scrolling YouTube, you've seen content that is basically saying everything that I'm saying right now is not true. I'm probably sounding really dumb if you're not a Christian, because it's like, why would you want to give up a guaranteed success? Why would you even want to invite the opportunity for God to say no to a guaranteed success? Because there is no success without Jesus. And it's hard to articulate that in such a way until you go after it and you figure it out. That's the essence of what all these stars are saying when they say that Jim Carrey's saying, I wish everybody could achieve their dreams and get millions of dollars so they know that it's not going to make them happy, because it's not it. And happiness is not it. Joy in the Lord is it. Making it to heaven is it. Finding peace in your life is it. Like there's so many stories of people getting what they want, and it's just not even close to what they thought it would be. And of course, if you're in survival mode, you may not even be able to receive this message because you're still worried about food. You're worried about this, you're worried about that. But even in the midst of that, God is your food, is your bread, is your water. So you still have the opportunity to hear and digest this to a degree where you can feel better knowing that you don't have to be what the world tells you you're supposed to be. You don't need to be Ryan Coogler and have the #1 movie of the country called Sinners. First of all, we can talk about that. You don't need to be that. You don't need to be anything other than what God says you already are, right? His child, his beloved. Like, you are already it. I'm not saying self-improvement, taking care of yourself, eating well because your body's a temple, all that stuff. I'm saying still do all that. I'm saying, but it comes to that chasing. I'm speaking directly to the people who watch Alex Hormozi, who watch David Goggins. Like me, I watch that stuff. Like, I'm speaking to those type of people who got buff to get female attention, right? I'm talking to those people like that. Like, there's so much noise surrounding what you should and shouldn't be in this world that when you really take a step back and look at it from a Christian lens, like, it's all a lie. It's not true. The only thing that's true is what is in the word itself. So if you've gotten anything from this video, it's maybe take 2 seconds to examine, do I really want the things that I'm visualizing? If you're researching it and you're researching acting or whatever to the highest level, you know that there's some weird shit in there. You know there's some weird stuff in there. You know that there's some weird music business stuff. It's not a secret anymore. No matter what even if you're going for a CEO position, you know there's weird stuff. CEOs are always getting divorced, they're cheating with their assistants, all sorts of weird stuff. Like, I'm not saying that's going to be your life, but I'm saying there's always a weird thing that comes with levels of success in this world because you never get stuff for free here. So again, if you've gotten anything, just take another examination. Are you looking through the eyes that God wants you to look through? Do you trust him with more than just your future, with your whole life, your finances, with your image, with your popularity, with your wife, with your kids? And if not, you can. So I'll leave you with that. Until next time.
Yeah, say that to me. Yeah, say that. Yeah, say that to me. Oh, marathon. You can say that to me. Yeah, say that. You can say that to me.